Hi everyone, this is Professor E. So we'll continue working with Microsoft Word, the most important concepts, and then we will switch to Excel. Okay, so as you can see, I have a document here, Microsoft Word document, and then we're going to apply some features, especially how to format, because this looks like a research paper. So we're going to do some changes. We're going to make some changes that are required for most search papers. All right, so let's get started. So for example, the introduction is supposed to be, by the way, look here, the font type, most of the time it's Times New Roman. So I'm going to select the whole thing and then change the font to Times New Roman because it's more visible. It's easy to read. So Times New Roman. Okay. And then also one of the requirements is for the text to be 12. So we'll change, oh, it's already 12. Okay, that's good. And then it should be double space. So we are going to select the whole thing and make it double space. So there are two ways. Either you go to paragraph and then line spacing to 2 or to double, or you can use Control 2. That's like a shortcut. Okay, click OK. So, and then also we are going to make sure that all these little headers or subtitle, make sure it is bold. So we have introduction, we have the research questions, and then we have research design. This is just part of the research paper that we are using as an example, but there are other sections that I did not mention here. And then you have sampling and participant, that's bold too. Okay. And then also another thing we need to make sure is also the margin. It's very important. Now, you may need to ask your instructor about the requirements, but most of the time it should be one all around. So that's the normal one, which means on top and then the bottom, all the should be 1 inch. Okay. Now, also as a research paper, one of the requirements is to mention or to insert or to include citation and references. Okay. So for example, here, when student transition from high school, so this is a normal text. And then one of the ways students can get help to overcome this obstacle, or basically this research paper is about peer tutoring, especially in class, inside the class when students, tutor each other. Okay, so this is a research about that. So as you can see right here, this author or these two authors, Michael and Duran, define peer tutoring. So this is a citation here because I'm mentioning definition by these two authors. So I have to mention I have to include the citation here, source, my source. Now I already have the source here. I put it here. Now how can I put it inside my document? Okay. So let me just minimize this so I can see both at the same time. So to include your citation, first one, make sure that you insert the cursor where you want the citation to be. And then you go to references and then insert citation, add a new source. So as you can see here, you have to pick, is it a book? Is it a journal article? Is it a website? Is it what type? A report? Is it a conference proceeding? Is it So you have to mention. So here, this journal article. So I'm going to mention the name, which is I'm just going to put the E-me-L, and then you separate them with semicolon. You can add the second one, T, and then do stop there. There is A missing here, and then the title, which is Peer Learning Network, implementing and sustaining okay, I need to see this, the entire thing. So insert, citation, so E. Mikel, and then the Dura. And then the title of the article is Peer Learning Network, implementing and sustaining cooperative learning by teacher collaboration. Okay, now the journal name, you can tell here that it is a journal of education for teaching. So that's the source. And then the year, it says 2017. The pages here, if you check this box, it will show you more sections because there's more to it. And then the pages here, it says 349 all the way to 360. And then the month, it's not mentioned here. And then I will, okay, and then have the volume, which is 43. And then the issue is number 3. Okay. Let me see. And then also, I'm going to include this part right here. Let me see if I okay, I just have to type it because I cannot open it there. So I'm going to put DOI. I'm going to put that HTTPS, and then I'm going to put the entire thing. So I usually copy and paste, but I don't want to repeat this. So 10.1080 slash 02607 476, and then that's 1319509. Okay, so I have all the information here. And then I'm going to put, okay, now look what happened. See, can you see here? I have the citation. And this is connected. If I copy, the entire source will be copied, not only the text in here. And then if you go down, you can put references. So you go, let's say, for example, once you get to the end, you have to mention all your references at the end for bibliography. So I need to go to references, and everything is saved here. So just click references, and it will show the reference. See, this is the one we added. Okay. And also, I'm going to add another one here. Let me see. So I put that citation. Let me see if there is another one, citation. Page. Okay. No, I think that's the only example we have here. I thought we had two. Anyway, so this is how you how you add citation and references to your research paper. Another thing, but this is other features not necessarily related to research paper, is you can add comments in here. And by the way, you can manage sources. If you have all the sources, you can go to manage sources, and you have, this is all the old sources they have. So since we are talking about this research paper, this is all of them that I have used for many research papers. So I have them in this is called the master list. But you can copy from here. If you don't want to repeat the same thing, they're already saved. Let's say, for example, I'm going to be using this. Okay, I used it in one of the previous articles, but I want to add it to my current research paper. So you just have to copy it to the second. So now I have two. Okay, so I can insert it anytime I want. So for example, if I have that citation here, just an example. So I'm going to put this insert citation. It's already here added. So I just have to add it like this. Okay. And then, of course, you need to make sure that you update your references by clicking update, and it will be added for you in alphabetical order because C comes before M. Okay. Okay, so that's about the citation and then how to manage sources. Also, we'll be talking about how do we insert comments? Can you see like comments? So let's say this is you are sending this research paper draft to your instructor, and then you want or you expect feedback from your instructor. So he will receive this research paper draft and then make some comments. So for example, here, he will mention, for example, here, okay, student transition, or I'm just going to mention a few things here. So let's say, for example, here at the beginning, you will put comments that you need to, for example, you need to indent every paragraph. Okay, so this is important as part of the requirements, and then validates. Okay, you need to. Okay, let's say another one, for example. Maybe here, this thing, he will mention something else, that this part should be in the section, in the a purpose statement section, for example. So whatever comments you have in there, okay? And then you can add more comments in here, research design, here another comment, for example, that you should indent this paragraph and um, yeah, whatever comments you have. Okay, I was just thinking maybe you can move it to another place. Okay, in the end paragraph. Anyway, so once you are done with all the comments, okay, then you can save it. You can also keep track of these changes. So if you go to track changes, so once you click, then all the changes will be saved. For example, if I put track changes, and then anything I do, it will be basically recorded, not recorded, but it will be saved, and then it's up to you to either accept it or reject it. For example, let's say this part right here, I want, for example, I want to change it to low, for example. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, another part right here, workload. Yeah. For example, I'm not saying that we have to do this. I'm just giving an example how to use the track changes. Make it italic, okay? And then let's say this part right here, and in like example, this part right here, underlines, for example. So once you are done, then you need to either accept, and you see right here, once you are done, then you can either accept or reject. So you can accept all the changes, for example, or accept some of them and then reject some of them. So that's okay. So you can accept all of them. And then, okay. So this is pretty much about the how to format a research paper. Okay. So now let's switch to Excel. Okay. So make sure you watch the other videos. I talked about many other concepts, so make sure you watch them. So I just feel like this is very important, formatting a research paper. So make sure you watch the other videos. I'm going to stop here and then start. Hello, everyone. Isabella, hey, Jack. Thank you for joining us. So as I said, we are done with Microsoft Word. Usually Microsoft Word is not a problem. It should be easy because most of you are familiar with most of the features, most of the concepts. Sorry, I can show my face, that's fine. So it should be an easy exam. That's why I said make sure that that's why I focus only on the area or the concept that probably you are not very familiar with, like for example, how to make mail merge. There's something else also I forgot to mention, which is the tabs. So before I switch to Excel, I'm going to talk about how do you make a tab. I'm going to make a tab here, very important. So let's say I'm going to make a new one. So what is the tab first? The tab is part of the paragraph section. So basically you want to organize your text so it looks like a table, but without the lines. So you can use the tab. For example, let's say I want to make a table that has the teachers, the roll number, and students, or maybe the student names and their teachers and stuff like that. So I can go right here, paragraph, and then can you see tabs right here? So you click on tabs, and then you tell how many stops you're going to make, basically how many columns. So let's say the first one I want to start from 0.5. So that's the first starting position. Okay, it's going to be by default left alignment. Like starting from the left. You can start from the center if it is a typo or something, and then from right. We're gonna have example, and then if there's a decimal, then you choose this. This is if you want to separate the two columns or the columns by this type of leader, dashes or dots or something like that. So the first one, 0.5, I'm just going to put set here. Okay. Now, what is the next one from here? Can you see the ruler? If you don't see this ruler, make sure that you go to view. And okay, let me repeat this. If you don't have this ruler, because this is important, it tells like where the positions are. So if you don't see them, or if you don't see the ruler, just go to let me see here, I think layout. Let me see here. Is it review? Oh yeah, under view, then check, make sure the ruler is checked. Okay. So again, I said you go to paragraph tabs, and then you start clicking right on tabs, and then how many columns? So let's say the first position is 0.5, which is somewhere in here. Okay. And then I'm going to put set. That's the first one. Then the second one, I'm going to go maybe 3.5. And I want to be right aligned. That means it starts typing from the right, moving to the left. And then I want to separate the two by this, like dots or dashes, whatever you like, and then set. And I'm going to add one more. Let's say 5.5. I'm going to put 5.5, and then I'm going to use maybe either dashes or just basically just along, like just a line. Okay, or I can just use dashes. Okay, and then for the last one, I'm going to choose. Okay, that's for the for the last one, I'm going to put decimal. Let's say I want to put numbers. Okay, then I'm going to set. So now can you see we have 3 stops: 0.5, 3.5, and 5.5. So as you can see in 3.5, I have these dots between the first and the second. And then the third one, I have dashes. So it's going to make more sense once I start typing. And then everything is set. I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to use only the tab. Can you see the tab? Okay. So once I press tab, it's going to move to the first stop, which is 0.5. Can you see that? Can you see on the ruler, there is a little mark. This is for the left tab. This is for right tab in the middle. And there's like a dot next to that mark. That means decimal. So for example, I'm going to put here teacher. Let's say, yeah, I'm going to put like a teacher, Mr. Johnson, for example. And then once I hit the tab key, what's going to happen is going to move to the next stop, like a table. And you see, like, put the little dots. So if you want to, and then I'm going to put the row number, F354, for example. Oh, number was off. So start from Mr. Johnson. And then I'm going to put F354. And then once I hit the key, what's going to happen? Little dashes. And then I put the number. Okay, whatever it is, like 125 plus 36, whatever there you have. And then you hit the enter key and then you start over. Then you hit the tab key. Okay, Mrs. Spencer. And then you hit, it's the same thing we repeated. Can you see, like, this is much easier if you, I mean, table is an option also, but sometimes people, they don't want the lines, they just want, it looks like a table, but everything is organized. So I'm going to put G, for example, 397. Everything is aligned. Why? Because they all follow the same rules. And then I'm going to put 95. Because it's decimal, they will be aligned. So 69, for example. And then you continue like that. The tab key. And you can do it also for the table of contents, right? So you can put, for example, the item, the chapter, and then the page number. Anything that looks like a table, you can use the tab. Okay, so for example, Mr. Garcia. And then can you see, like, the right align? It starts from the right, moving to the left. It looks like there is a line, like a barrier in there. So that's the difference between left align. Left align, you start from the left, moving to the right. The right align, you start from the right, but moving to the left. And then there is a center. Center, it goes both ways. Like when you have a title, for example, you can use, or it would be a good thing to, I mean, a good option to center it, because you want the title to be in the center, moving on both directions. Okay, so I'm going to put here something like that, and then again. All right, so that's how the tab works. Okay, so now let me stop, and then I'm going to start with Excel. So Excel is also one of the most frequently used applications, especially in data science. And by the way, Microsoft Excel by itself can get you a job. Of course, maybe it's not by itself, in combination with other, but for data science, many companies, they use Excel for data science. I know others, they use Python, they use more advanced, programming softwares, but still many companies, they use Excel because it's a very powerful application for data science. So how do we start? Of course, you just type Excel in the search, and then you start Excel. Please feel free to intervene or to ask questions. So anytime you want. So that's how we start the, okay, I'm sorry here, I need to share, right? Okay, so as I said, I'm going to switch to Excel. So this is how we start Excel. You just type, okay, you can see my page. Like, can you see Excel? Guys, can you see the Excel page? I just want to make sure that we are looking at the same page. So if it is a new document, you click on new. If you want to get from template, you can choose any template. So we're going to choose, and this is how you start new one, okay? So Excel, as you can see, so it looks like a table, okay? So we have rows, and then we have columns. Columns, now you see A, B, C, D, E, F, and the rows are with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And the cell is the intersection. So for example, here, that's D2. If I type something like 63. So the location of 63, you have to mention the column letter, which is D, and then so it's D2. Can you see it? We can see it here in the name box. Okay. And then of course you can extend or expand the cell depending how much space you need. Okay. And the same thing for the rows, you can extend them, make them bigger depending how much data you have. Okay. So let's have examples how to use this. So I have some examples here. Let me start with this. Let's say international trade, for example. Okay. So as you can see here, I have a table that shows the exports and imports of certain countries. And then we need to calculate the balance, which is the export minus imports. And then we want to calculate the total of all exports, or the total of imports, and the average. So this is basic. Now here you may notice that I combined all of them. I merged A1, B1, C1, D1, E1 into one cell because I don't need all of them. I combine them into one by using this. Can you see merge and center? So you select from A1 all the way to E1 and then click on merge and center. So this will combine them, will merge them into one. Okay. And then here I want to calculate the balance. So we always start with, for the formula, equal sign. And then either you type, like for example, I want 67,000, that's B3. Minus, and then this one is C3. So you can either click on it or type it yourself and then hit the enter key to validate. See? Now you can repeat the same thing again, but that would be, time consuming. It's better to copy the formula. How do we copy the formula? You select this cell. Can you see like at the bottom right? Once it changes to this black plus sign, just drag it down all the way down. So but all what you are doing, you are just copying the formula to the rest. You can see some of them are negative because they import more than what they export, like in France, UK, yeah, in these two countries. Okay, the total. So total, there are different ways you can do that. So you want to calculate the total of all of these. The easy way is to get or to use this. Can you see like this sigma right here? If you click on it, it's called the auto sum. That's the easiest, basically the shortcut. So if I click, okay, and then its program is waiting for you to validate. Is this? Now, since, okay, we included cell that has nothing, but it's not going to affect our total, right? So the total will be the same because even though I'm not supposed to add that cell because there is nothing in there, but adding it is not going to change the value. So that's why I'm just going to leave it. Or you can just change the B12 to B11. I'm going to put here, it's going to be from B3 and you put colon and then you put B11 if you want to be specific. See, that's the total. And then again, we're going to do the same thing that we did with the balance. So I'm going to move my mouse until to the bottom right until I get this black plus sign and then click and drag. So what you are doing, you are copying the formula to the rest. The average is the same thing. So I can either select from here, average, or you can go to formulas and then pick average from here. Recently used, you can use average from here, or logical. Logical does not have average. So financial, so they put them like in different section. So it should be, because it's very common, should be here, average. And then do the same thing. We want from what? From here. So you can select, tell the program what are the cells that are involved in this average. And then you hit the enter key. And then again, you copy the formula to the rest like this. Okay, so that's how you copy the formula, and then how you calculate the total average using the function sum and average. Okay, now let's go to a breaking away. So here we have another file. So we have some items like from the bicycle shop, And this is the description of these items, bicycle, helmet, and so on. And you have the price and then items sold, like the quantity. So the total sales here is you multiply. So you always start with the equal sign, it's the price, and then you put the asterisk, which is multiply by 30, and then you hit the enter key. And then you copy the formula, what we did earlier. Okay, now we want to see the percentage. Well, before we want like, what's the percentage of this over the total? So is it 20%, 10%, which means we have to calculate the whole thing first. So let me look at the count first. How many we have? How many items we have? So I can go right here, and then you use the count. If I type count, and then I tell the program how many items I have. So for example, here it's a count. That means how many items I have. So I'm just gonna count how many items, which is this, and then close. Oh, see here. Let's see. Oh, count. I'm sorry, I have to pick this one, right? So I'm gonna put here count, and then copy it. So count basically is gonna count how many you have, which is 10. So if you count them, 1, 2, 3. So I'm not adding the numbers. No, that's the sum. Count is just how many. It's like you are counting how many items we have. So 10. And then the total, that's the total of all of this, which means the total sales. So let's be more specific here. Total sales. So for this one, I'm going to put the sum, and then I'm going to copy all of this. Okay, so that's the total. Oh, so which means I have to divide each one of them by the total so I can get the percentage. So here I'm going to get this equal sign, hit this, and divide it by, so here I have the totals. Either I'm going to type the number 24,870.1, and then hit the enter key. Say it's going to give me the percentage, but as a decimal number. What about if I want the percentage? Well, there is a way. You just click on the percentage. So that's going to give you 5%. Of course, it's already rounded. And then you copy the formula to the rest. There we go. Now, what about if I don't want to use the number, or maybe I don't have the number, or maybe it's somewhere else? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select. What about, okay, another question. What about if the number changed? Let's say I made some changes, like 30 to 31, which means all this calculation will be different. So here, it's going to stay the same. So it's not going to give me an accurate answer. So I want to tell the program whatever that number is, even if it changed. Like, for example, let's say I changed this one, for example, for whatever reason. So let's say I changed this one to 31. I'm just going to give you an example, 30. This one changed, but this one does not change. I click on this, 24,870. Look, it's not the same. So that's not an accurate. I can tell the program whatever we have. So I'm not going to divide by a number, like an absolute value. I'm going to click. That means whatever is in there, and hit the enter key. Now I'm going to have another problem. Okay, another problem with this one, because when I try to copy the formula to the rest, look, I have error. Why? Because when you go down, this one will go down too, and there is nothing below that. So to tell the program, listen, I don't want to go down here. I want to stay here. So there is something called the absolute reference. So I'm going to put as $sign before the letter and after, and then hit the enter key. So now if I copy the formula, say when I copy the formula, I got the same number, which is this one right here, did not change. Okay, So that's the difference between the absolute. When you put the dollar sign before and after the letter, you are telling the program, listen, I don't want you to change the number. It's going to stay the same. But if you are not using the dollar sign, it goes down. It keeps changing. Like, for example, right here, it's E8. Then here, E9. It changes, right? And then E10. But for the second number that you are dividing by, you don't want it to change. Because if it changes, it's going to go right here. There's nothing here. And then when you go to the next one, it's going to go here. Okay? If it's changing, don't use the dollar sign. If you want the value to be the same, then use what we call the absolute reference. Okay? So that's about breaking away. Now, and so we did international trade, breaking away. Now let's go to class grades. Okay, so here we're going to learn a lot of good features. So the first thing, it looks like this: class grades, and then by topic, by subject. And then we have students. We want to calculate the total for each class. And then for the all classes, the average, maximum, minimum, standard deviation. We want to know the total number of students. We want to know the count, how many students pass. See, now it's more specific, not the total number of students, but there's a condition here, if they pass. And also you want to calculate the sum of all their grades, but only if they pass. And then the average, not the average of the whole thing. You already have the averages right here. But here you want to calculate the average only for people who pass. So this is an average with condition. So let's start one by one. So we already know how to calculate the total. So you can either use this for a sum, or you can put the formula equals sign sum, and then you select the numbers or the cells. Be careful that you don't include the total. And then hit key, and then we copy the formula by doing this. So that's the, well, for the average again, or you can go to the formula. You pick either from here, average, or from here. Okay, so here, or you can copy here. I mean, you can type here. Whatever it's up here is going to show on the cell. So this is the formula bar. So average, and then you select the same cells. Be careful that you don't include the total with it. Otherwise, you're going to get different numbers. So 71, and then you copy the formula. That means do the same thing for the rest. That's what it means. And then the same thing here by subject. We're going to put equal sign, sum, and then we're going to copy vertically, hit the enter key, and then validate, and then do the same thing. Excuse me. And then copy for the rest. And then the average, the same thing, average. And then you copy the same cells, and close, hit the enter key, and then you copy the formula. Max, the same thing, equal sign max. That means the highest value. So you do the same thing, you give the range of cells, and then you hit the key, and then you copy the formula. Then minimum equals sign min, and then you copy the cells, and then hit the enter key, and then you copy the formula to the rest. And then standard deviation, for people who are not familiar with statistics, standard deviation is basically how far away different numbers, that in this case, the grades, from the average. Is it close to the average? So when the standard deviation is small, that means the grades are close to the average. They're not that far. You don't have like a, they're not far away from each other. But when the standard deviation is big, that means there is a big variation. That means most of the numbers are away. Either they're higher or very low. Okay, so we have a standard deviation here. Standard deviation. I think we put STD right here, and then you do the same thing. You provide the cells. So 12 That's like how far away from each other. It's not big, that's not small, so it's about right. So you can see at 17 here, the grades are away. You can see like the highest grade is 100, and the smallest is 55 or 50. So the standard deviation is bigger because the variation is higher. All right, now let's move on to this, the total number of students. So which function I'm going to be using? So I'm counting the number. So that's count. That's not sum, because sum is going to add up the numbers. So I'm going to put here equal sign count. And then I'm going to count the number of students. So I just have to you don't have to. You just have to. I'm sorry. You don't count on the text. You can just count the grades. That's how many students we have. Okay, so we have 13 students. Okay, next one. Count how many students pass. Okay. So which function we're going to be using? We're going to use one called count if there is a condition. So I'm going to put count if statement. Okay. Or if you don't want to type it like this, you can go to the formula logical and then count f. It could be here. If it's not here, then it should be in the financial. So count f statements. Or you can just go here and then under statistical count f statements. Yeah, right. So it's going to give you as a box a range. That means now what is the range of students? But how am I supposed to know if they are passing or not? That's why I need to put here the status, either passing or not. Okay, and then I will finish this. So the status, I'm going to put an F statement. That means if they are passing, if the average is higher than 70 or equal, then I'm going to put pass. So I'm going to put here F statements. So statistical F statements. Okay. That's this way. So here the logical tests. That means what are we testing here? We're testing the average. So 71 will decide, or this grade will decide. So I'm going to put, and then just click on the location. See, J5. Is it higher or equal than 70? So either true or false. So what happened if it is true? We're going to say pass. And then if it is false, we're going to put fail. So either true or false. And then I'm going to click OK, and it's going to show me only the first one, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing, copy the formula, so you don't have to do it again. And then I can see pass. Why? Because it's 71. Oh, 82 pass, 62 fail, 96 pass, 61 fail. Now, what about if I want, okay, it's kind of very hard to tell. How about if I change the color? If it's pass, make it green. And then if it's fail, make it red. In this case, I can go to conditional formatting. That means format based on a condition. So there are different ways. I can go right here, highlight cells root, greater than or maybe equal, because here we're talking either pass. So I'm going to put equal, which means if it says pass. So you can choose the color. I'm going to put green. Green. Click OK. Then I'm going to do it again. What about if it's equal to fail? And choose another color, maybe a red border or whatever, red text, for example. And then you're not going to see it until I copy the formula here, because this applies on the first. See that? So now it's easy to tell who is passing, who is failing. Now I'm going to go back to here, counts of passing students. I want to know how many people pass. Count them. So it's not count, because count is just count, there's no condition. Count if, that means put the condition. So I'm going to go to formula and then count if statements. So probably and count if statements. All right. So the range, that means where are you searching? I'm searching right here, right? So I'm searching from here to here. Okay. Now, what is the criteria? What are you looking for? I'm looking only for pass. They're going to put here pass. That means search here. Every time you see pass, then count it. So how many you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. Sure enough. Okay. Now, instead of counting, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to add the grades, the sum of the grades. Okay. That means I want to add 495. Okay. And then 556 because they pass. I'm not going to add 435 because they fail, and so on. So here I'm going to add sum. So I'm going to go sum if statements, which is here. So it's the same idea, okay? So here I'm looking for passing, right? Who is passing? So this is, and the criteria is the same, pass. But what am I adding? What is the range that I'm going to add? That's this one right here. I'm not going to add pass. How are we going to add them? But you want to add this. But only if they fit, if they meet the requirements, which is pass. Sorry, I will stop here. I should put the range here. So I'm going to select this way here. See that? So this is the range of passes and fails. We are looking only for pass, and this is the number that need to be added. So if you click OK, see that? So this is the add. So if you add, I mean, you can do the calculation. See, it looks like it's because 495 plus 576 plus 673 plus 632 and so on. So that's what we have. Now, what about the average? We're going to do the same thing, equal sign average F statement. Average. So it's the same thing, exactly the same thing. So I'm going to select. So it's better to have that box than type it. So I'm going to choose that box. You can just look for more functions. So we have average F statements. If you don't have it, so I just have to search for it, more functions. Just search and see all, or you want to see all of them and then by it. So that's an easy way to find it. So we have average, oops, sorry, I missed average F statement, which is right here. Okay. So again, I'm going to search this. Every time I see pass, I'm going to stop. Only pass. And then you want to average. Average which numbers? The same thing, which is this, but don't add them up, average them. And then click OK. Oh, sorry, again, I put in the wrong place. So make sure you put the cursor here and then copy this. And then it will average only if they pass. So that's 609. Now, what about this number? I don't think it's a good idea to average these numbers. What about if I average these numbers, the average? Yeah, I think that makes sense. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to have this column. So it shows the wrong column. Okay, these numbers don't have any meaning. They're not going to give me any good information. So what I'm going to do is the same thing, average F statement. So, but I'm going to choose the right column. I didn't choose the right column. So, so you select the passes. You put the criteria, only passes. But I want to include this because this is going to give you good information. What is the average for people who pass? So select from here to here. So that makes sense, 87. But this 87 is not the total average. I mean, that's not the average of the entire class. This is the average only for the people who are passing. So you're picking only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people who pass, and then you add up the total grades, and then you divide by 9. So that's how we got 87. Okay? There we go. So now we have one more. So this is for the PMT. Like, for example, if you have a loan and you want to know what is the monthly payments that you have to pay. So you're going to be using the function PMT, which is payment per month, how much you have to pay based on the information we have. So we use equal sign, and then we put PMT. And you can see right here, Excel is helping us. It's telling us what to do, or what arguments, what element do we have to have. The rate is already here, so I'm going to select it. But this rate is for the whole year. What about for the month? You have to divide by 12, so it's per month. And then you put comma to separate. And the second one is n per. That means the number of periods, but that means the number of, because here we have the year. The length, this is 30 years. So I have to multiply this guy by 12 because we have 12 per year. And then we have the next one, PV. What does PV stand for? It means the present value, which is basically the loan amount, which is this guy, right? Okay. Now we have other two. Can you see like they are between square brackets? That means they're optional. So which means I don't have to worry about it. I can just close it and then it works fine. I can close it. Or you can just put comma, don't put anything. And then the last one is 1. That's the type that, I mean, you don't really need. So I think this one should be enough. And then hit the enter key. Can you see? That's how much you have to be paying per month based on the information given. The interest rate, the length of the loan, and the loan amount. Okay, 2,776 per month. Okay, so that's how the PMT function works. Now the last one is, it's called XLOOKUP. Okay, so we have the situation here. Let's say I have a bunch of names. And then I have their emails, but I'm missing one, let's say, or more, like Mark Johnson. I have his information in another document. Let's say this is the other document. It has all, but it's very difficult if you have, let's say, thousands or millions of information. I know it's there, but it's very difficult to find. So XLOOKUP will help me find that email. It's there, I just have hard times finding it. So XLOOKUP will tell me where to find it. So I'm going to put here equal sign XLOOKUP, as you can see right here. And then what are you looking for? What information of what? Actually, I'm looking for the email of whom? Of Mark Johnson. So that's Mark Johnson. That's the lookup value. Okay. And then it says, where are you looking? Where can I find the names of people? Okay, so here. So I'm going to tell the program, okay, from here to here. Of course, you could keep going. I just put 3, but usually you have thousands, millions of them. And then again, it would be a good idea if you can put the $sign because you don't want to keep switch changing. So I'm going to put that. Okay. And then the same thing for this. Called the absolute value. Okay. So the lookup value, what we're looking for is Mark Johnson. Okay. Where can we find the names of people? Right here. Now you have to tell the program where to find the emails so we can see which one match Mark Johnson. So I'm going to put here and do the same thing right here. So I'll put this. Of course, we have millions of them. And then we're going to do the same thing, which is $, make it an absolute value reference, not relative, because relative keeps changing, so it's going to mess up. Okay, we are done. So we need 3. Of course, the others are optional. Anything that has between square brackets is optional. So I'm telling the program, listen, I'm interested about person. His name is Mark Johnson, but I need his email or phone number or whatever information. So the program will ask you for 3 things. These are required. The others are optional. Tell me what you are looking for. Okay, Mark Johnson. Where can I find the name of people? Give me that. And then the information you are looking for, so I can see which email matches Mark Johnson. So the program will keep looking. Oh, Mark Johnson's right here. And then it's going to return this. Okay. It's right here. Mark.d.johnson, which is right here. Okay. So that's how the XLOOKUP works. Okay. Okay. I hope you find this lecture useful. I tried to cover as much as possible. Of course, in addition to the videos already posted in D2L. So, and also make sure, remember, this is not a replacement for the work that you have in the book and the Simnet. I'm just trying to cover the most important concept. But you still, it is still your responsibility to go over and then try the, the assignment and the practice that you have in Simnet and then in the book. You need to practice them. Okay, I'm just making it easier for the concept that you may have, you may struggle with, or you may have questions about. But at any time, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so this is just to help you with the concept that you may struggle with. Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you so much for people who attended. I'm going to stop the recording here.